Hey guys, welcome to a Taken King Infosplosion, where yesterday Game Informer revealed that the Taken King was their magazine cover and big story for their latest issue, and released a ton of new information about the Taken King, so let's dive right into it. First off, the Taken King is not like the Dark Below or House of Wolves, where we just got these little mini content packs. This is a much larger expansion of the Destiny universe, and does a lot to streamline a lot of the game. What is actually among some of the bigger news is that Nolan North will be the new voice of the Ghost for the Taken King, and what I assume to be everything else in the future, so much so that they've gone back and re-recorded all of the lines where Peter Dinklage was previously the voice of the Ghost. The reason for this is that they didn't want the Ghost experience to be jarring to new players, having one voice being around, then switching despite the character being very much the same. The Taken King seeks to be much more cinematic and go into the lore of the game in a much more significant way compared to the first year of Destiny, which was basically zero. The intro of the Taken King contains, quote, the single most epic cinematic yet seen in the series. More cinematics are seen through the leveling campaign. Not only is the Ghost getting a new voice, but it is also getting a new function. Audio blips will alert you to something you can scan for more information should you so choose, giving you the option of learning more about the areas you are in and the things around you. All of this is great. Nolan North is a great voice actor, does most notably Nathan Drake from the Uncharted series. More cinematics are awesome, it's what we've always wanted, more storytelling, more depth, we want to know more about these characters. Good. Moving on to the leveling process. Destiny's light level system was an interesting experiment, but one that hasn't exactly panned out well over time. Tying such a high amount of power, your level, to your gear wasn't the greatest because it led to very large bursts in power. The Taken King's new level cap is level 40, but this level is not obtained via light. New quests and missions will add to your experience bar after level 20, going all the way up to level 40. The light level system is getting changed, but beyond getting changed to a, quote, streamlined and consistent experience from level 1 to level 40, we don't really know how just yet. I've speculated that it might act more like an item level stat, but no other information has been given out just yet. Weapons, armor, class items, and even ghost shells offer more customization with regards to your light and power levels. Year 1 weapons will still be very much equipable, but expect to find much stronger weaponry and armor with higher attack and defense values to replace them, as low in quality as green or white items. You won't be able to take things like Fatebringer and Black Hammer with you into the future, hence their Year 1 Ascension limit. I would suspect that these old weapons will still be usable in PvP though, given that PvP does not take into account the weapon's attack values. With regards to Ascension, it sounds like the Ascension system is getting a tweak as well. As a different way to sharding new weapons or armor, you can improve an item you like by dismantling another piece from the same gear slot. The name of this process and how it will work exactly in the Taken King is still being finalized, but the reason for it was because, quote, it enabled a player to customize the way they want to look and the weapons that they want to use. This mechanic also extends to exotics. It's unknown how high weapons or armor can be upgraded. I know it seems like Bungie's changing the way we upgrade our gear and weapons in every single damn expansion, but it's probably because they're trying to find a system that is actually going to work well going into the future. Ascension was simply a band-aid fix to the issue. Hopefully they got it right this time around and we won't have to keep learning about new ways to upgrade our gear. I know it must be obnoxious to have to learn a new system every expansion. Hopefully this is one of the last times. As for exotics, it is unknown if exotics are coming with us in the expansion, but the article made sure to not mention exotics when talking about Year 1 weapons that won't be coming with us, like legendary weapons. I think it is relatively safe to say that exotic weapons will be upgradable in the Taken King, but to what extent is still unknown. They might bring all of the old exotics into the Taken King, they might only bring some, they might only bring a couple, we just don't know yet. Speaking of exotics, there were over a dozen new exotic weapons and 6 armor pieces for each class when Game Informer went to go play the game, although more could exist. One auto rifle shoots blasts of chain lightning. An exotic sniper blinds nearby enemies on precision shots. No Time to Explain is a new pulse rifle, which is essentially a higher level version of the Stranger's rifle, where getting precision hits refuels bullets back into the magazine. Many of these new exotics are linked to quest lines similar to exotic bounties. For example, one exotic is gained partly through extensive exploration of the Dreadnought. The Sleeper Simulant is another exotic. It is a fusion rifle that sits in the heavy slot which fires a laser blast that can overpenetrate and bounce off of walls, with upgrades increasing the number of bounces. This weapon comes from a quest which goes across multiple missions, and just getting the quest comes from a clue you find hidden somewhere in the universe. We'll learn more about this weapon later in the month. Other stats and UI elements are getting streamlined too. Intellect, discipline, and strength abilities now have numbered tiers to aim for as opposed to being more free range. Quote, tiers are digital thresholds that you cross to reduce the cooldown on your core 3 powers. Instead of a percentage, we want to tell you the time in seconds that your ability is going to come back in, end quote. The choice of whether to wear your helm in social spaces extends to the character screen. Equipable emotes are now available below your emblem selection to choose from. Holding L2 on the pause screen gives a glimpse as to the elements on your weapons, along with some icon redesigns as well, to make it easier for players to see what they have equipped. You can turn in bounties without having to return to the bounty giver. All of this is awesome, but one very minor issue I have is with regards to the intellect, discipline, strength tier system. It sounds like there's a much greater potential for wasted stats if you're just short of that next tier. I like what's going on now where you can still really get the maximum out of your stats. I don't see why they couldn't just display the times with the way things are now, but you know, that's just me. We'll talk a little bit more about the weapons at the end of the info dump. The quest system is probably one of the largest overhauls in the game. There are 8, quote, lengthy story missions along with a lot of new quests and bounty chains to obtain from NPCs. Some show up after the first mission, some show up at the end of the campaign, and some after you've only completed other objectives which might not be as obvious. Different NPCs will send you on different quests. For example, an Eris quest will lead to the rediscovering of a forgotten weapon type. Vanguard quests carry the story forward. The Cryptarch and even the Gunsmith can hook you up with new quests to do too. Not only does this streamline the new stuff, but all of the older content has been streamlined as well, like the Sword of Crota mission now seamlessly leading you into the Dark Below storyline. Original missions were reordered and reconfigured to fit this new quest system. Speaking of the Gunsmith, he just got way more important now with his own reputation bar. To increase your reputation, you'll go test prototype weapons. Quote, test weapons have a built-in challenge, like kill Hive on the Dreadnought, use the sniper to get headshots in Crucible. You can check out as many as you want at a time up to your inventory capacity. It's like a bounty that's built into the weapon, end quote. Once you rank up enough, you'll unlock Arms Day purchases, where once a week, you can order a new legendary weapon, and on Wednesday, that weapon will arrive with a random perk selection. There are also the new Weapon Foundries, but we have discussed these previously. The unification of materials is also a large way Bungie seeks to streamline Destiny. Those Crucible and Vanguard marks now are merged into one single mark currency. Hadronic Essence, Playsteel Plating, and Sapphire Wire, now all merged into one single armor material to use across all classes. This really helps players with one of each class. Speaking of the new marks, you can now pledge allegiance to factions one at a time instead of wearing their respective class item. This now frees up your class item slot to use whatever you might want to actually use, which is good since class items are getting stats now. You can also turn in motes, weapon parts, armor mats, or even ammo synths to gain additional reputation. Probably one of the best changes coming is with regards to shaders and emblems. No longer will they be confined to inventory space because Ava Levante, the Guardian Outfitter, will have a list of all the emblems and shaders in the game, those that you do and do not have. Those that you don't have will have more information on how to actually get them. You'll be able to repurchase any that you've gotten, so no more tossing out cool emblems or shaders because you didn't have the space for them. In response to more vault space, quote, we're still bumping into a technical limitation for vault space. We're still exploring options for getting stuff out of players' inventories via these kiosks that we've placed around the tower, but we're still looking towards a solution that we're excited about. Sounds very much like an older gen limitation that people have been speculating about, but we don't have anything else at the moment. We've learned a good amount about the new subclasses already from E3, and not much was new in the article about the new subclasses, except for elaborations on how we will obtain them. They will be obtained through a series of short missions, all different from each other. While the article didn't outright completely spoil the missions, they did give some extra detail, so if you don't want to hear anything about the missions involving the subclasses, skip ahead to the time on the screen now. Sunbreaker for the Titans is actually learned via a mission that involves a rogue group of Titans called Sunbreakers. You then go to Mercury for another short mission, and then fly to Venus to fight off Vex. What's cool about this particular mission is that it supercharges you, allowing to spam your super a lot, which is great because it allows you to play with the super a lot and get used to it. Night Stalker and Stormcaller did not have as much detail. Night Stalker involves tracking a lone wolf hunter who has gone missing, and Stormcaller involves a mission where a Cora Ray indoctrinates you into the power. Both are similar to the Sunbreaker in that they seek to teach you the subclass while teaching you where these powers came from. As for the Crucible, we know a lot about it already, but we learned of a new mode which is very similar to an old mode. Zone control is basically the same as the control game mode, but where controlling the flags gets you the points and not the kills, much like domination from Call of Duty. There are 8 new maps coming with the Taken King, some of which you've already seen. One in particular takes place in an abandoned fallen ketch, and quote, players should notice low grav effects on physics, objects, and ragdolls. Crucible Quests are introduced where NPCs like Lord Shaxx and the faction NPCs will give you new quests and missions to introduce you into the Crucible and possibly more on the factions themselves. Crucible Bounties are getting a makeover as well. Finally, stuff that you can't even complete, like salvage on a non-salvage weekend, will not show up. Trials of Osiris bounties are coming. Every day, your class will have a specific bounty as well. There will be one bounty that is particularly challenging to do every day. Most notably are the weekly Crucible bounties. Finish them all to gain access to a final bounty in which that bounty can offer a very large reward, like a legendary or exotic weapon. You should also expect better matchmaking capabilities. Hopefully getting into games versus full groups as a solo player will be a much rarer occurrence. A mercy rule has also been applied to the Crucible, where matches end early if things are dramatically unbalanced. Finally, we reached the endgame. Previously, once you were done with all of your missions and you hit the max level, the game left you to your own devices. Now, reaching max level is considered the first act of the story, where upon reaching the end of the campaign, another set of missions, strikes, and quests open up. There are 4 new strikes, and 3 old strikes are getting revamped with taken enemies. These strikes should have a little more depth than what we've been dealing with in Year 1 of Destiny. Presumably, the third act is the raid, King's Fall. After the main story completes, a new series of quests opens up revolving around the event The Taken War. For example, a mission called Unsealed Paradox takes players into the Vault of Glass, where the player will finally get some information on Praedyth. The Dreadnought ship seems to be built with endgame players in mind, filled with secrets and loot. Invisible platforms and hidden alcoves can lead to hidden loot, but the game really doesn't give many hints on how to pursue that hunt. Strange items also present a mystery. Quote, at one point, I, the author, picked up a worm spore, a concentrated transmutation that reacts to both light and darkness, but with no idea as to what it does. The strikes will now feature raid light mechanics, no more of the straight blitz to the end of a strike. The Fallen Saber takes us to Earth because of a distress signal from Rasputin to fight, and this is true, a super-powered variation of a shank. The Shield Brothers strike takes us to the Dreadnought, where the Cabal seek to blow up a ship, of course with you still aboard it. The Sunless Cell pits us against a Hive Darkblade named Alak Hull, who has been imprisoned in complete darkness for rebelling against Oryx. The Echo Chamber is a PSN exclusive strike where you head to Venus to hunt the Restorative Mind, which is trying to restore Sekrion from the Nexus. These new strikes aim for replayability. We've heard replayability before, but it seems like Bungie is doing more about it this time around, where, quote, many encounters alter enemy configurations on subsequent playthroughs between 2 or even 3 potential fights, often rotating in different enemy species. The team has even recorded multiple versions of the narrations, so subsequent replays offer increased insight into the storyline and background of the strike. There was also a sort of teaser trailer for all of this new information, so let's quickly go over that video. First, we see what appears to be evidence of the 347 Vesta dynasty that didn't quite make it into the House of Wolves. A clip of a stealth character is next, but the context is unknown, although it looks like they're in Crota's End. In this shot, we see the potential exotic weapon No Time to Explain, based on its looks, along with something in the heavy slot that has been making its way around the community. People are saying it looks like a sword, and it kinda does, but that's all we have to go on right now. We have a shot of what appears to be basically a solar version of Thunderlord. Next, we have a Warlock on Blind Watch fighting Harpies. There are a couple of other tidbits in there as well, but you should definitely go watch the teaser linked in the description. It's only a minute and a half long. There's another trailer that released very early this morning, which sort of recaps the first year of Destiny and talks a little bit about the second year. That video is also in the description, but you're mainly going to want to look out for the second half of that video. Another thing is that all editions of the Taken King will include a free character boost to the minimum level that is required to play the Taken King. What's the minimum level required to play the Taken King? I don't know yet. Now, there are a couple of very frequently asked questions that we don't know the answer to just yet. For example, are we going to start at level 20 when the Taken King comes out? Most of us are level 33 or level 34 because of light levels, but technically, we're all level 20 and they're untying light from levels. I don't know if they're going to retroactively untie the levels from our old gear to make us all level 20 at the start of the Taken King, but I don't think it would be the worst idea in the world if that happened. They might have something where they take the highest level you've reached in year 1 and just apply it to you. They might start us at some random level, but we just don't know yet. Next question was probably, is all of my old stuff becoming obsolete? And the answer is sort of yes. With the Taken King, you're not going to be able to upgrade any legendary weapons or armor from year 1. They'll be useful for the first handful of things that you do in the Taken King, but they're gonna be replaced. And you know what? That's okay. It's gonna be okay. For those about to panic, this is not exactly a new thing in gaming. MMOs do this all the time. And to those people who are going to say, well, what's the point of upgrading anything anyway if they're just going to get rid of it? I'll say, well, you used it when it was relevant, didn't you? You used Fatebringer 365 in House of Wolves, you used Black Hammer, you used all those things. I personally am excited about leaving some of this stuff in the past and just moving on to newer things because there was pretty much no way you were ever going to detach yourselves from those weapons anyway. It'll be fine. You'll be okay. As for everything else, I'm excited. You can't say that Bungie hasn't been listening to the players because there's so much good stuff here. The Taken King is really shaping up to hit that potential that Destiny has had all along. Although, once again, I approach with cautious optimism. Right now, the pressure is on Bungie to deliver a good experience for all of us. They do not get the benefit of the doubt. I've heard the tell, but I'm still waiting for the show, and that's the only thing that's going to completely sell me. But right now, everything I'm hearing sounds awesome. A lot of people have expressed this opinion. Why even play when stuff you're getting isn't going to be useful in a month? Well, you could play for fun, but only about 20 people do that, so I'd recommend taking a break. Don't get burnt out. Go play something else for a little while, and then come back for the Taken King. This happens with every expansion, not just with Destiny, but with plenty of games with expansions. Just go take a breather, go play some Rocket League, catch up on Witcher 3. Destiny will be waiting for you. Otherwise, this is all good, and I can't wait to hear more. And we will, all of this month, so stay tuned. Find the link in the description for the Game Informer Taken King Hub. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.